we didn't know what Kamala Harris really stood for. We didn't. Let's be real about that. And so that was a problem. To say that she ran a perfect campaign and then point to Queen Latifah endorsing her as evidence of a flawless campaign is delusional.
So as you could probably imagine, there's basically a civil war breaking out on the Democrat side right now, because on one hand, you have the normal mainstream media characters who are just blaming the voters, right? Kamala was a great candidate, and the only reason she lost is because the American people are racist and sexist and terrible people. You've heard that a lot. But on the other hand, and they do deserve credit, even if I don't agree with them on other issues, there are the sort of common sense Democrats who are trying to run around and say, no, that's not the reason, right? You can't just shame the American people. Maybe the reason we lost is because we failed to appeal to the working class. You know, we were this elitist, condescending, affluent party, and working people in this country sort of rebelled against us. And we have to return to a more sane party. We have to drop all the far left crazy social stuff. We have to care about immigration, care about working people, what the Democrat Party sort of used to stand for, right? So we're going to cover that here today because MSNBC, it's MSNBC, so they always run ridiculous segments, but their reaction to Trump winning was basically what you would expect. But then we have Cenk and Anna on TYT. Yes, even Cenk calling them out on it. It's very interesting. So folks, let me just say, if you're enjoying the content, please, it's gonna be a very fun 4 years ahead. Make sure you're subscribed so that way we can keep bringing you these videos. Let's try to get to 400K before the end of the year. And with that said, take a listen to what MSNBC's Joe Scarborough had to say about the election. I really am waiting for the day Joe will ever say something intelligent. We're still waiting on that, but take a listen.
I just say, Rev, really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before.
Again, if you think that's why Trump won the popular vote, won or split 50-50, essentially the Latino vote, which is very unprecedented, I don't know what to tell you, okay? It is just a delusional frame of mind. But I think it's so funny because Joe does recognize something that is true, which is, hey, voters are not a monolith. Right? He sort of realizes, oh, that whole intersectionality, identity politics thing, it's not really true. People make up their own minds. Hispanic voters, for instance, very diverse, actually, group of people. But his central conclusion is not to say, okay, maybe some care more about immigration. Maybe some care about economy. It's that, yes, even racism and sexism exists in the Latino community. It is so ridiculous. So
a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and with other Hispanics. You got some that don't like each other.
Everyone is racist.
Some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic. And we've got to have real honest conversations about it.
Real honest conversations.
Everyone is racist, guys. That's their conclusion from this election. Again, like, not that, hey, maybe we should try to make life better for working people. Maybe we should re-embrace what the old Democrat Party was about. It was the working class party. It was relatively socially moderate. It wasn't giving, transgender surgeries to illegal immigrants, stuff like this. Maybe embracing people like Liz Cheney in the hopes that you'll win over the wealthy neocon old Republican votes, and in the process abandoning the FDR coalition in many ways that kind of, your party was built on. No. Kamala didn't do anything wrong. We couldn't have done any better. The simple answer is that Everyone is bad. Everyone is racist. Everyone is sexist. Unbelievable. You know, the funny thing about it too is even if you believe that's true, okay, well, Democrats, what are you going to do about it? Because even if you believe that is true, you still need to try to win the election, don't you? Or are you just going to do that for the next 4 years? I don't know. I'm more than happy for them to keep saying this stuff because it shows they're not going to learn their lessons, right? They still believe that playing identity politics and shaming the American people is still going to work. It is what it is. But listen to what TYT, Anna, and Cenk had to say about MSNBC's segment here, because to tell you the honest truth, it's probably about right.
Okay, but like, Cenk, Queen Latifah.
Oh my God, you got Queen Latifah?
Queen Latifah.
Okay, thank God we're going to be in the White House. I wonder who her cabinet is going to be because she ran a flawless campaign. She said, you couldn't have done it any better. She lost. You don't think you could run a campaign any better than losing?
She was.
That's amazing. She lost the popular vote. Okay. Jesus Christ, what kind of alternate reality do they live in?
Kamala Harris ran on the message of saving democracy as she was campaigning alongside a neoconservative like Liz Cheney, who ran interference, provided cover for the Bush administration, which violated our constitutional rights and suspended habeas corpus. Just something to keep in mind. But she was a perfect candidate, Cenk. Perfect candidate. It's just that she was a black woman. And no country would ever elect a black woman, or the United States, of course, because we're just inherently a racist, terrible country, of course. And we would never elect someone named Barack Hussein Obama, who's also black, except we did twice. So,
and he pulled
who, by the way, won, I believe, the white working class vote outright. Those very people who are now voting for Trump, and you are claiming it's all because of racism and whatnot. Just saying, right? There are, like, especially when you go to the Midwest, you look at that blue wall, the Rust Belt, you are dealing with a ton, honestly, most are Obama Trump voters. Okay, so if these people are just like KKK members their whole life, they've been racist, why did they vote for Obama? Clearly, that does not properly explain it, right? So the Democrats, if I were them right now, would be introspecting massively to say, how did we lose these people? And now how are we losing even Latinos, the Latino men, Latino working class? How are we bleeding even a little bit of support with black men? What is going on? It can't be because of bigotry. Because again, we used to have those people with minority candidates like Barack Obama. So, but you know what? Honestly, guys, let's all be quiet. Okay, don't tell them, because if they looked into this and figured this out, maybe they would actually win elections. So let's not let them win elections, okay?
But 83% popularity after his first victory. So this apparently in this country that is so racist that they would never elect a black woman had a black president at 83% approval.
exactly.
Okay, but no, it's not the fault of your beloved Democratic politicians. Never that.
Guys, I just, look, this is something that I like to do time to time, just to make sure that I'm not going crazy, because if you look at Obama's campaign speeches, you can juxtapose campaign Obama to President Obama, because when he was in campaign mode, he got it. Like, he understood what kind of messaging resonated with Americans, okay? He ran, I would argue, I wouldn't say flawless, nothing is flawless, right? But as close to flawless of a campaign, especially in 2008, as you could possibly run.
Yeah.
And it's because he had a message that resonated with the frustrations of the American people, right? The economic instability, we were in the
But now what is it? The American people are frustrated with things like economic instability. They're just racist and sexist. How dare they want to feed their children? How dare they? How dare they care about things that affect their lives instead of voting for Kamala Harris because she's a black Indian biracial woman with a LGBT vice president? Like, well, how dare they not do this? These people wonder why they lose, okay? Because there are more people like us, okay, normal, sane individuals, than there are people like MSNBC in this country. And that's what you're seeing in the popular vote, by the way. Just saying.
Financial collapse of 2008 at the time, the frustration over the wars abroad. I mean, campaign Obama was incredible, so incredible that it didn't matter what his name was. It didn't matter what his skin color was. What mattered was the substance of what he was saying.
Again, it's almost like that's how the American people really feel, to tell you the truth.
We didn't know what what Kamala Harris really stood for. We didn't. Let's be real about that. And so that was a problem. To say that she ran a perfect campaign and then point to Queen Latifah endorsing her as evidence of a flawless campaign is delusional.
No, I'm never going to forget that line. That's now instantly one of my favorite lines. It's like an ESPN classic. But what does a guy who's a steel worker in Pennsylvania care about Queen Latifah or even Beyonce or whatever? So look, I don't mind the celebrity endorsements. Maybe they help around the edges. Maybe Taylor Swift got some younger voters in, although younger voters didn't show up to vote because they didn't get anything from the Democratic Party. They would have much preferred student debt relief than Queen Latifah or Beyonce, okay? But, and it's not to say that there aren't some racists that voted against her because she's black, and there is some misogynists and sexists who voted against her because she's a woman. Of course there are, right? But was that the driving force in this election? No.
Obviously not.
The fact that they didn't deliver, and that they thought just getting a bunch of celebrities around themselves and having corporate CEOs sign a letter saying she's great, and getting Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney to say how wonderful they were and raising $1 billion meant that you ran a perfect campaign. Those are not the ends, those are the means. And they're not even the correct means. But they can't see straight. And the reason young people didn't show up in the numbers that you expected and other folks didn't show up isn't because they're in a particular demographic. It's because they're normal human beings that care about their wages, that care about the debt that they have, they care about housing prices, etc. And when you look, in the beginning, Kamala Harris was running a good campaign. Not flawless, but good. She was talking about housing prices. She was talking about price gouging. She picked Tim Walz. People really liked that. She surged. She was up 5-6 points in the polls. By the end, she was tied in the polls. And as I told you a million times, if you're tied in a national poll and a Democrat, you can't win the Electoral College. And that's exactly what happened.
I want to end with one more video because...
Yeah, so there you have it. Again, the divide right now in the Democrat Party is this. You have the MSNBCs of the world who are just saying, like, the Democrat establishment is good. Kamala ran a great campaign. We did nothing wrong. But the only problem is that the American people are racist and sexist. Yeah, exactly. TYT is right about this. Okay, but the thing is, I don't really care where this Democrat civil war ends because both outcomes are ultimately, I think, good for the country. Either A, the MSNBCs of the world win the debate and Democrats don't stop being woke. They just, oh, the voters are so bad, blah, blah, blah. And then the voters are not going to vote for them. And we're going to win every election going forward. Or TYT and people like that win the debate, which to say no. It's not because of sexism. It's not because of racism. It's because we have to pick candidates that actually speak to the American people. We can't be so condescending. We have to actually deliver results that people like. In which case, even if I still probably wouldn't agree with everything on the Democrats, at least they would be a party that was not crazy, right? At least, I think step one, you got to drop all the crazy woke social stuff. Step two is you need to win back the working class. You need to stop being the party of the rich, of the neocons, of the defense contractors, all of that. You combine those two and you basically return to, say, the Democrat Party of JFK. I'd much rather have a country where this is the political debate and we both agree that, like, the current ruling class is bad and the military industrial, I'd rather have that country. Like, I would rather, for the collective good of all of us, have that be the political debate of what makes you on the right or the left. So we'll ultimately have to see what happens. But the problem that I see for the TYT side of the argument, the populist side, whatever you want to call it, and why they might not be able to win in this scenario is the Democrat establishment is so entrenched. And I think that's the difference between the Republican establishment, which ever since Trump came along before that has been on shaky grounds. But the Democrat establishment, it's like that's the whole mainstream media. And their voters, by the way, are people who just love to eat up the establishment, love cable news, all this stuff. And you may even see from the electorate this time around, a lot of their voters have gotten older, right? Some exit polls actually had Democrats winning the baby boomers outright, which is unprecedented. Those are a lot more stubborn types of voters. And Liz Cheney and, all the neocons have now coalesced and they're part of the political establishment too. So this is all to say, if you want to have a populist uprising in the Democrat Party, I don't know how much that's going to resonate with your own base because they're just so used to eating up the media. Oh my gosh, I love CNN. I love MSNBC. I believe everything they're telling me. me, it's a much different voter base, a much different electorate from the Republican Party, whereas conservatives are more naturally distrustful of powerful institutions right now as it stands. The Democrat electorate, I just love this stuff. Okay. And who knows, it might end up becoming the party of the neocons at this rate because, you know, that's who endorsed Kamala Harris. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts. There's going to be a lot to cover, a lot to watch on this regard in terms of who wins the debate in the Democrat Party. Like I said, I think it's good for the country either way in many ways. But that said, let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new. And until next time, God bless and peace.